Hi everybody, I'm Susie the Sea Witch. Welcome to my channel. Today we're covering part 3 of the Book of Mirrors exercise. If you haven't done part 1 and part 2, please do those before watching part 3. I've got links to part 1 and part 2 up here and down in the description. For part 1, there's a timestamp in the description of that video that will take you right to the part of the video so you don't have to watch the whole thing again. Today is all about the point of this exercise. There are 3 points to the exercise. The first point is to understand what element you are at this time in your life. Your magical element doesn't have anything to do with your astrological element. I'm a double Sagittarius, sun and moon, which would mean I'm double fire, but I have almost no fire in me at all. I'm working on that. Because you assigned elements to both your positive and negative traits, you can see what element or elements show up the most in your personality right now. This is just a snapshot of your personality elements at this time. If you do this exercise again in a few years, you'll probably notice some shifts in your elements. Why do you care what elements you are? Because it will help you to understand what type of spells and magics will work best and most easily for you. So count up your elements from both lists and see which ones appear the most. You may be strongly one elemental type, or you may have 2 or more elements that show up in the same or nearly the same amounts. If you have an element that doesn't show up at all or very little in your list, that indicates an element you might want to work with to bring yourself into balance. Don't stress about it though. I don't know anyone that's perfectly in balance. It's a process, not a destination. The second point of the exercise is to see the good in yourself. When you were adding up the positive traits to your list, if you're like most people who do this exercise, you may have found yourself struggling to add enough positive traits to match your negative trait count. You may have even started looking at your negative trait list for inspiration for more positive traits. For example, if you wrote down gossip as a negative trait, you might write down good communicator as a positive trait. Lazy might be viewed as a negative, but patient would be a positive. Depressed isn't really a trait, but if you wrote it down, I'd suggest that you're also a fierce fighter battling depression every day and winning. How do I know you're winning? You're still here. Hopefully you discovered through this exercise that negative traits are really positive traits that are overused or used incorrectly. While you may want to get rid of your negative traits, it's important to remember the story of the piano. Banging on a keyboard isn't music, but taking the piano away doesn't make music either. It's better to learn to use your so-called negative traits correctly, making them positive traits. It's a basic fundamental of magic that you can't just remove something without putting something else in its place. Nature abhors a vacuum. I hope this exercise was helpful for you. I'd suggest you include the results in your Book of Shadows. Even just a note about the date and what your current elemental snapshot is, as well as what element you might feel is lacking in your life. You might want to write down what you'll do to honor your current elemental state and what you plan to do bringing more of your weakest element into your life. I'd love to hear any thoughts on how you might do this or any questions you may have in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Blessed be. And remember, all cats are beautiful.